Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Welcome. This is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 68. And it's September 21st, 2024. So real interesting article in today's episode. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. There is an article that came out regarding the AI and data collection and how they're training their models. And it's really an important lesson for things that are going on right now, just across the board, not just with LinkedIn. There's a whole bunch of companies that are getting into this. So that's really what this article is about. So let's go ahead and flip on over my screen and talk about the article. All right, so article title, and again, if you need to access the article, then you can definitely check out the Cyber Threat Intel feed, and the link will be in the description. So check out that. You'll be able to get the article. But LinkedIn addresses user data collection for AI training. Professional social networking site LinkedIn allegedly used data from its users to train its artificial intelligence AI models without alerting users it was doing so. So that's always a dangerous thing when you're using users' data for the use cases that you didn't necessarily lay out or tell people about. And that's gotten a whole lot of companies in a bunch of trouble. That's a reason why we have a lot of these legislations that are coming out. So let's keep reading here. So Blake Lawitt, LinkedIn's senior vice president and general counsel, then posted the company's official blog same day because they're saying they hadn't refreshed their privacy policy, announcing that the company had corrected the oversight. So that's kind of one major flaw whenever you're introducing some major new feature, especially if you're using customer data in a way, again, that's not intended or that the user is not aware of. That should be in your privacy policy. You should outline and lay out how you're going to use that data. And that's kind of a major oversight by such a substantial or large company, somebody that really should know better. They probably have a team full of lawyers, team full of legal representatives, and they just had that oversight. So that's kind of concerning in its own right. The updated policy, which includes a revised FAQ, confirms that contributions are automatically collected for AI training. According to the FAQ, LinkedIn's Gen AI features could use personal data to make suggestions when posting. So again, this has been one of the major concerns with artificial intelligence in general, is how are these models, these learning models, how are they being trained? What are they using to educate the model so that they can provide better responses, they can do various things? And then, of course, we've seen with things like ChatGPT, where pen testers or researchers are going in there, they're creating these random queries and they're able to extract information. That's one of the biggest concerns, is being able to either kind of put the pieces together and make inferences or assumptions based on what you know about other data, or literally being able to extract data from the actual AI model. Those are both major concerns because depending on what kind of information that you're housing or that you're storing, that you're using, that can obviously be really bad if it's sensitive information. Let's go back to the article here. So there's a quote here. It says, when it comes to users using members' data for generative AI training, we offer an opt-out setting, the LinkedIn post read. So an opt-out setting, meaning that you have to, that you actually have to go in there and you have to opt out of the learning model. Now, you've probably seen this from, for instance, LinkedIn, or I remember seeing one from Udemy and a couple other places where they are starting to kind of have this opt-out idea or opt-out philosophy strategy. Now, Shiva Nathan, founder and CEO of Onymos, expressed deep concern about LinkedIn's use of prior user data to train its AI models without clear consent to updates to its terms of service. So the idea of this opt-out feature being available to users after the fact, after it's already been released and after it's already started to consume data. That's a huge concern because not only did it start to do that, but you didn't even know that it was going to do that. So it already started to learn with your information, despite, if you wanted it to or not. And now there's an opt-out feature. So now going forward, you don't have to be included in that, supposedly, right? But what if you had, let's say, 10 years of data on your LinkedIn account? Because LinkedIn came out in I think it was around like 2007 or something. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember the exact year, but it's somewhere around the early 2000s that it came out. So well over 10 years. And so 10 years, especially in the current state, 10 years is a lot of information. And if we're talking about trying to go after you or exploit what you're doing as a company or as an individual, anything like that, then 10 years is going to give you more than enough information that you need to accomplish a lot of different things that as a user you might not want it, you might not have wanted to happen or be faced with. Nathan added, this is not just happening with LinkedIn, pointing out that many technology companies and software services that individuals and enterprises use today are doing the same. Absolutely. So this is something that I mentioned earlier, but this whole idea of all these companies trying to get into the AI model space and create AI, and whether that's marketing tactic that you have AI, or if it actually does AI, or if it just parses things. There's all these different levels of AI that companies are trying to promote and say that they have and implement in their products and everything like that. So we're seeing a ton of companies starting to do this. And so since a lot of my content and the content on cyber threat intel is part of the idea of enterprises and professionals and those kinds of things, there's a lot of concern with that, both from a personal standpoint, so your personal data, but also from a company standpoint. So you go buy some random software product, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You can pick whatever one. You just buy some product that you have or that you want, service, and then they have AI in there. Now, how do you approach that? How do you vet that AI process or that AI model, that feature, so that it is not using your data ideally to learn? Because especially when we start talking about businesses, then we're starting to talk about more and more information, even more sensitive information that could not only affect you personally, but your entire company, all the employees there, all your suppliers, a lot of different people, customers. There's so many things and so many implications that can result from this. So it is an extremely huge concern for companies that all the companies out there basically are trying to jump on this bandwagon and implement AI in their services. So you have to be very, very careful as far as what these companies are saying they're doing versus what they're actually doing, what models they're using, where they're storing data, what kind of data they're processing in it, what the feature is actually meant to do. There's so many concerns, so many questions that you just have to be very, very cautious. The U.S. has no federal laws in place to govern data collection for AI use. This is true, and only a few states have passed laws on how users' privacy choices should be respected via opt-out mechanisms. But in other parts of the world, LinkedIn has had to put its Gen AI training on ice. So that's one thing that we really, in the United States, are not great at so far, is this whole idea of a lot of the privacy regulations or generative AI and data collection, data privacy, like all of these different things. We are just slower than a lot of other areas. When we look at the European Union, so Europe, you have things like GDPR and all of these regulations that have come out and standards that really up the bar as far as what companies have to do if they're going to store this kind of data. And it's good to see. It's certainly a lot more responsibility on the companies. It's a lot more demanding and taxing on resources because you just have to put more people towards these efforts and making sure that things are correct. But from a consumer standpoint, whether you're a business consumer, you're an individual as a consumer, it doesn't matter. You're just a consumer. But it is much better for you because then you know your data is not being used in a way or should not be used in a way that you're not expecting. Especially when we see companies like Facebook that are just really, opening the door and shipping all this data out and not really caring. That there's a lot of concern around that. So, yeah. Charan Gangwani, Principal Product Manager at DataGrill, says the recently enacted EU AI Act has provisions within the policy that require companies that trade in user-generated content to be transparent about their use of AI modeling. So again, we're seeing that that Europe is ahead of the game on this, and let's go ahead and give them a clap for that because that's good. But again, it's kind of par for the course. They always tend to kind of be ahead of this stuff when they are looking at data privacy and how they can protect consumers and those kinds of things. So it is interesting to see that. It certainly will be interesting to see how this kind of plays out in the long term. So other countries like the United States, like if we start implementing different regulations like this, keep going here. And indeed, the EU in particular has shown itself to be vigilant when it comes to privacy violations. Just said that, right? Last year, LinkedIn parent company Microsoft had to pay out $425 million in fines for GDPR violations, while Facebook parent company Meta was slapped with a $275 million fine in 2022 for violating Europe's data privacy rules. Again, these companies are notorious for getting in trouble in these other countries, but they're paying out hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're really not doing that much to improve things. That's the scary part. It's not so much that companies or people make mistakes, because these things happen, or you try to implement features to make the experience better or using your products better and services better, and then you just have a lapse as far as like what you decide to do, or you just make a decision and it doesn't end up working out the way that you intended. Those things happen. But when you have a track record of just not doing what you're supposed to do or not taking care of your consumers' data, that's kind of concerning as a consumer. Do you really want to do business with companies that are doing those kinds of things, or that are showing such a lack of compassion or just respect for their consumers or their customers? It makes you think twice. If you wanna actually buy those services or buy those products, if you want to do business with those companies. Certainly companies like LinkedIn and Facebook, unless they did something extremely egregious where it's just like so bad, I mean, a lot of people are still going to naturally just have to use a lot of those products and services. Like LinkedIn is by far the best place to go professionally network and post jobs and a lot of different things for companies and just individuals. But it certainly does make you concerned, and it should make you at least investigate alternative options. It's just how it is. You can't just always rely on a single vendor and ignore everything else and assume that they're just going to take care of you in the way that they should. You have to be very careful with companies and watch them as they evolve their business plan, their strategy, the things that they're doing, and make sure that what they are doing is still aligned with what you expect. Because if it's not, you probably shouldn't do business with them. All right, so in order to get the most out of generative AI and the opportunities it brings, it's crucial that the public can trust the privacy rights will be respected from the outset, ICO's Executive Director of Regulatory Risk, Stephen Ullman, said in a statement. I think that statement is so true. But it's not just true with generative AI. It's true with just doing business in general. Do you trust that company to do what they say they're going to do and not violate your rights, whether that's privacy or otherwise, in trying to meet their business objectives? Do you trust them? Trust is one of those things as a business, as just a human. It's one of those things where if you violate trust, it's very difficult to regain that trust. Now, again, we've seen just these mammoth companies like Facebook consistently violate trust and people still use the product or the service. And that's obviously a major issue just from a general kind of standpoint, because it's one of those things where, like in the United States, we have this idea of where there should not be a monopoly for a specific product or service or something. Shouldn't be just a monopoly, one company that controls everything. And, we see Facebook kind of constantly facing that battle, that struggle, because in a lot of senses for just social networking, not professional networking like LinkedIn, and I'm sure that's kind of the argument, or one argument that they would make, is there's lots of networking sites, but they definitely have a very firm grasp on social networking, but people don't trust them. That's pretty clear. A lot of people do not trust Facebook, but they still use Facebook. And so that's kind of the thing where it's like, especially in a paid environment, when you're buying a service or a product, you're speaking or you're voting with your dollars. So you're saying, hey, I want to buy this service or whatever. And I am at least investing in this company to continue doing whatever they're doing, making their products, maybe creating new things. And so it's one of those things where you do vote with your dollars, but people don't always go away from, the things that they don't trust. And that allows companies to just keep going with it and, not really care, because they don't have to, because you're still voting with your dollars. You're still buying whatever they're putting out. And, things are good as far as they're concerned, I guess. So, that's how it is. With that being said, that's going to wrap up this discussion of this article. Again, check out the description. There will be the link to it, so you can check that out. You can also go to cyberthreatintel.com, and you can find the feed and the audio version of this. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. See you later. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cybertraining Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. CybertrainingPro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community, where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today.